If nobody talks about you, then you are nobody. Then you are nobody. Remember, child.
Hello, everyone. I am Oma Wawari Ogunyomi, and I am a goddaughter of Priestess Oshun Fonke Iyanifa, and this is Faith in Fasting class. So the point of this class is to help explain the relationship between fasting and spirituality and how fasting can unlock and deepen spiritual powers. So we're just going to get started. First thing, what is fasting? So most people think of fasting is like not eating, like at all. And that is actually 100% false. Most fasts you can eat. And some fasting has nothing to do with eating. So we're going to kind of talk about that. So the first thing that most people are used to is dietary restrictions. Sometimes it is a dry fast where there's no food or water. Sometimes it's just no food, you can only have water. In other cases, it's things like no meat. Sometimes it's no meat at all. Sometimes it's just like no pork and no red meat, but you can still have chicken and fish or turkey and fish, as long as it's not like deli meat type stuff. Sometimes it's just no sweets, no added sugars, things like that. Sometimes it's just no processed food. I just finished fasting for domestic diva initiation, and I couldn't have red meat. I couldn't have pork. I couldn't have sweets. I couldn't have added salt or pepper. No alcohol. I feel like there was more. Oh, no spicy food. That was the one that was like, hold on, wait a minute. And no junk food. So I think no junk food is cool, but it's difficult. What'd you say, babe?
I think this is why your skin is glowing.
It may be, but it ended Thursday was last day, and yesterday and today I've been acting the fool. So I don't know for sure, but maybe it's that. Maybe that's why I'm glowing. We'll say that because we won't say the other thing on video. Another thing is like limits on drugs and alcohol. So, and drugs isn't just recreational. So prescription drugs, and if you absolutely don't have to take it, sometimes fasting requires that you don't, because it is still, in most cases, a fake ass chemical that is being put into your body. And it messes with lots of things. It can mess with your mental state. In some cases, it messes with the chemistry within your body and the way your body functions sometimes because of the side effects. You know how whenever you hear those prescription commercials and there are a bunch of side effects and they say them real fast and real low, like nobody's paying attention. If you've ever seen that Cat Williams stand up, it's hilarious. You should watch it. It's one of his older ones from the early 2000s. You should watch it. And then obviously alcohol. A little bit of alcohol is fine. But when you're doing a fast, you should not have alcohol typically, just because it does, again, it messes with, chemical balances within you. It does things to your mental state, even if you're not getting drunk or even tipsy like me, it still changes you internally. So it's not like, oh my God, you're drinking, it's horrible. It's not like that. But when you're doing fasting, that's usually the first thing people have to give up as a fast is alcohol. Curbing behaviors. So this one is one that people don't really think about, but it is a fast. Those of you in the coven, when we fast on Thursdays, part of our fast is tomfoolery and nonsense. So what we have to look out for, I'm going to make you a co-host, Omi Jimmy Lua. So you can help let people in if somebody gets blocked out. Sorry, Blessy. You should be good. Okay. So curbing behaviors. So things like, let's not go out to the club this week. Less video games or no video games if you are a gamer and you find that it's something that is taking up a little bit too much time. Social media is a big one. I love fasting from social media. Boy, I tell you what, if I could not have social media, like if I could just lock all of it down, I probably would for a little while. at certain points just because it is very distracting. And so are those stupid mobile games, those phone games. Terrible, terrible. If you find one you like, I purposely deleted them all from my phone. And then like a couple of weeks ago, I don't know why, I just kept seeing an ad for this game and I put it on my phone. Worst decision ever. I'm gonna have to delete that bitch because it's just taking up too much of my time. So then that's part of removing distractions. And they could be anything. TV is another big one for some people. And then consciously adding positive things to replace the negative things is also something that you definitely want to do when fasting. So again, on our Thursday one, we create a mantra or a prayer that we're supposed to say all day to kind of help keep our mind where it is supposed to be. That's one of the things, making sure you're meditating, especially when you're fasting and it's like a hard fast, like a dry fast where you're not having anything. Meditating definitely helps. And it helps with the whole purpose of the fasting in the first place, which we'll get to. So those are just a couple examples. Omi Jamilua, do you have anything to add?
I think you pretty much covered everything. I would just say that when we ask the question, what is fasting? One word that comes to mind is discipline. And discipline of the mind to gain a little bit more control and I guess to put the spirit in tune is really essentially what fasting is, right? And so when you look at all of the things that you listed, dietary restrictions, limits on alcohol, all those things, that really just comes down to discipline. And so it's not like, well, we're doing this fast just because. There's always, especially when it comes to faith, there is always that spiritual component in mind. And we're doing that is obviously sacrificing the flesh to make the spirit stronger in one sense or another. That's about it.
I love you so much. This is why I invited you to help, because that was beautiful. When I wrote this a month and a half ago, I wasn't even thinking about that. So this is why you're here. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to the next part about that, about anything we just went over? All right, excellent. Love to see it. So popular methods of fasting. So I listed 3, and I dropped the kind of like guide in the chat. But the 3 that I listed were the Daniel fast, which most people that come from Christianity are familiar with. It's just, a limit on what you can eat and for how long and all that good stuff, right? And then one thing that I used to do, my grandmother was Catholic, my dad's mom, she was Catholic. She was born in Germany. She was Catholic. And one of the things that they do in Catholicism is Lent. And so I would usually do something that was like really that I should chill out on. So like no fast food, like anything that has a drive-through, I can't eat there for Lent. That's like my most typical one, because I'd be on the go and I'd be eating garbage, including people's French fries. That's like my kryptonite is somebody's French fries, okay? And somebody's any type of fries. It could be funnel cake fries, French fries. If it's a fry, I want that bitch. So anything with a drive-through, I can't go there. Typically. One year I was vegan for Lent. I lasted 11 days and had to go to vegetarian because that whole, that egg thing, like not having eggs, that was too much. I couldn't do that. I could do it without the meat, but like not having eggs, not having anything dairy. At the time I was eating a lot of cheese because I was still very unhealthy. I was like 200 pounds. So I just couldn't maintain that. It was too much. I did 11 days though. I was proud of me for making it that long. But instead of always just taking something away from Lent, I also would add something for that period of Lent. So I would add something like I have to walk a certain amount because I had one of the little step trackers or whatever. So I would do something additional so it wasn't always just taking something away, because sometimes when you just feel like you're taking things away, it makes it seem so negative in your mind, and then you don't want to do it, or you don't finish and you don't accomplish your goal. So it's important to add positive things when you are fasting. And then there's like detoxes and cleanses. So I have never done a detox or a cleanse aside from the one I had to do when I had to have a colonoscopy a couple weeks ago. So I'm gonna have Omi Jemilua talk about cleansings and detoxings because she makes them, y'all, and she's the bomb.
All right, so yeah, like Omar said, I make detoxes and a number of things. And so just kind of a background, because I always feel like when anybody speaks on any topic, especially if they're kind of a newcomer, they have to do like a 30-second, this is why I'm competent to speak on this thing. So bear with me while I give you my credentials, so to speak. So I am a certified medicinal herbalist, and I do have my own business where I make teas out of obviously herbs, roots, barks, different things like that. They're specifically healing teas. They heal the body. And then detoxes to Omowari's point. So when we look at detoxes as a part of fasting, and I'd always recommend doing a detox before fast, because the main reason is detoxes provide a method to get rid of toxins, right? And our body, we get rid of toxins through pores, through sweat, right? Through women, we get rid of toxins through breast milk. Vaginal discharge is a way to get rid of toxins. But it's really just a quick, hard reset to the gut. And if you've ever heard the gut referred to as the second brain, this is why. There's essentially two brains for the spiritual system, right? We've got our brain here. If we look at the top 3 chakras, that falls really in line with your brain, your pineal gland. But when you look at the lower 3 chakras, really the gut rules those 3. If you've ever heard someone say like, I had a gut feeling, or like your spidey senses are tingling or something to that sense, it usually has to do with like you have a feeling maybe that a certain energy should not be in your place, or that you're in danger maybe, or if you had a gut feeling that something was going to happen to your child, and then sure enough, they come home from school and tell you this crazy day happened, right? So that's your gut. And when your gut is blocked, and when there's blockages and toxins, and that nothing can really pass through the gut or filter through the gut, especially when it's we're talking about nutrients and minerals, then you are blocking a really huge part of your spiritual abilities. And so essentially that's really what detoxing is. And I sent Omowari a couple of them. You can detox for weight loss, but you can also detox just to cleanse, right? Just to get rid of those toxins. And so I will put a couple of them, just some ideas that I do that you guys can do at home in either the chat or in Discord in the Coven group. But detoxing is extremely important when we're talking about fasting, because your fast won't necessarily have the desired effect if you are still filled with toxins, and if that second part of the brain, that gut, is not working and corresponding with the spirit the way that it should. So.
Thank you so much. I feel like I might start doing cleanses more often. Maybe, we'll see. Let me figure out what's going on first, and then we'll see if I can be doing some cleanses.
You definitely want to be close to a toilet.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember, if anybody's ever had a colonoscopy where you have to drink the drink of death. So for me, it wasn't that bad. But beforehand, people were like explaining to me what happened with them, and I was like really nervous, like, oh my God. Luckily it wasn't that bad for me, but I think that's largely in part because I fasted at the beginning of the summer. I was doing the dry fast. I've been doing a whole bunch of obviously every Thursday we were doing fasting. And so I'm not like the most unhealthy person in the world.
No.
And so I think that probably was a contributing factor in how it wasn't absolutely horrible for me. But, and I followed their diet. They give you like a specific diet that you're supposed to have during that leading up to it. And so that was helpful. And that was nothing new because I was used to it because we have to do it in the coven anyway, right? But except for I couldn't have like nuts and seeds and strawberries and stuff. So that was like, man, sir, ma'am, couldn't have green leafies, which I'm anemic. I need all my green leafies. But I couldn't have that either. And so, because those things are actually not that great for your colon and clearing you out, which they're good for you for other reasons, but everything just puts in things. The Daniel fast is something they do. You want to go ahead? You can explain it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there was a question, but essentially the Daniel fast is it's a raw fast. It's fruits and vegetables, nothing cooked. And typically, depending on how serious your pastor is, a lot of people would say only water, but then some people would just say no carbonated beverages. So maybe you could do lemonade or something like that. But essentially, it's just raw fruits and vegetables, akin to, if you know the story of Daniel, kind of akin to what they were eating. So I've heard also that you could do dry beans. I mean, obviously cooked, but then it's like nothing cooked above a certain temperature. But again, it depends on who your pastor is and how serious they are.
Yes, and sometimes the church determines the amount of time. So it's not always a set amount of time. Although I think in the biblical story, there was a set amount of time.
40 days.
Yeah.
40 days.
Yeah, so most people try to do the 40 days, but some pastors, I think based on their congregation, they have edited the amount of time that is absolutely necessary. They say this is the minimum, and then, if you can do the full 40, I think it's usually at least 21 days that they try to get people to do. And then after that, it really just depends on your pastor. But fasting for 40 days is not a joke. Yes, Miss Wanda, Miss Blessy just put it in there. It's raw fruit and vegetables. It's which I actually kind of did when I was trying to lose weight. I did allow myself to have ranch for my broccoli and my carrots, and I allowed myself to have yogurt, but everything else was raw fruits and vegetables for one day, a couple days a week, and then the other days I could eat whatever I want. Because I was already like working out and stuff, but I still wasn't losing weight. So I just changed my diet once or twice a week instead of for a certain amount of time, like making myself like food deprived, and it worked fine for me.
We gonna work on you with that dairy, sis. We gonna work on that.
Well, see, I'm better now.
Oh,
This was me years ago. Now I'm good on dairy, especially if it comes from a cow.
Fun fact for everyone on the call, not to discourage you from dairy, but kind of to discourage you from dairy. The reason dairy is so bad for women is because we have our own lipid system. We create our own milk. It's very confusing to the body. And if a cow's milk's job is to turn a baby cow into a 4,000 pound cow, if that's its job, then what do you think it's doing in you? Just saying, just throwing that out there. I'm done. I'm not gonna say nothing else.
And I will say that cutting out dairy, I mean, aside from like the ranch and the yogurt, but like cutting out like cheese and adding milk to things, that type of stuff, that definitely helps me lose weight. So it is something to try for sure, especially if it's cow milk. Like cheese, it has dairy in it. It's not as much, but it's still dairy. But like cow milk, period, try not to ingest that as much as possible. If you get a nice almond milk, a silk, almond breeze, something.
Oat milk, if you're a vitamin D person and you like the creaminess and the thickness of it, oat milk is the shit. Like oat milk and cookies. Yeah.
I've heard that oat milk is really good, so I'm gonna have to try that because I get the chocolate silk because I don't like plain white milk anyway, because who does that?
Right.
I usually get the chocolate silk milk because that's fantastic. Or the chocolate almond milk, either one. But I'm gonna try oat milk because somebody had a whole post about this a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, and it was like real nigga ass niggas talking about how good oat milk was, and I said, oh, I need to look into this because they was not the bougie type. Okay. They were not the bougie type. They weren't the healthy type. They still eat their red meat and they pork. Okay. But they was drinking the oat milk. And I said, oh, I'm gonna have to try this.
Where's the oat milk? Good. Like to see it rise. Y'all know veganism went up 600% since 2016 amongst Black folks. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
We're getting woke, y'all, I promise. But in like the real way, not the fake Hotep way. So anyway, moving on. So what are the benefits of fasting? So I'm going to go over a couple of things and then Omijimi is going to add. So the first thing is physical things. Okay. So weight management, detox from chemicals, regaining energy, improvements in condition of hair, skin, and nails. That's like easy stuff. Like those are the things that you will probably notice above all other things. You'll notice that you don't feel like shit after a few days. It's going to suck at first because you're not used to it. But if you're doing one of those fasts that's at least a week or longer, you're still going to crave stuff. Like you're going to want it. But then when you're able to have it, you're not going to run to it. Because after my 8 days of fasting on Friday, I did run to a honey bun. I'm going to tell y'all that I had it ready for me, but I still was drinking a lot of water that day. I still haven't had any carbonated drinks. I haven't had any coffee. I haven't had any energy drinks, nothing with caffeine in it. I still haven't had that. I haven't had any red meat yet. I haven't had any pork yet. So I didn't run all to it. In my mind, I thought I was, but I haven't yet. So I am happy about that. Next thing is mental. So it can help reduce brain fog. It helps with memory loss and it helps reduce depressive thoughts. And most people don't think about our diet as having anything to do with our mental health, but it absolutely does because they are chemicals and most of the stuff we eat is processed in a lab anyway. And it's full of chemicals. And if you have any remote imbalance already, because mental illness is real, but if you have any small amount of imbalance, having trash diets makes that imbalance even more severe. So it's not going to completely get rid of it. I'm not saying fruit and vegetables is going to cure depression, but it is definitely something that can help elevate your mood because you're going to feel good. And usually when you feel good physically, it helps you feel good mentally. Next thing is spiritual. So it attunes your spirit with source. Source could be, in our case, Olodumare. We don't have any of our Haitian voodoo sisters on here, but I can't remember what their name for God is. Same God, just a different name because it's a Haitian name. It lightens your spirit. It helps your spirit vibrate higher. It deepens spiritual gifts. It helps your spiritual observations and receptions of messages be more clear. And it can serve as penance for misdeeds. That's a lot of times why people do Lent. It's just clearing out of that negative energy that even you have built up within yourself. Doesn't always have to be outside forces. Some of us ain't shit. I know there's times where I ain't shit. And so a sacrifice of the flesh is a way to make penance with that, as Omijimi said earlier. And then there's also sexual benefits. The taste and the lubrication for us, for sure. For men, the taste, if you've ever, y'all ain't got to tell y'all's business, but if you are a swallower, you know the difference automatically between somebody who has been able to have a better diet and from somebody who is not. If all they drink is soda and Henny and eat fried chicken and pork, they taste different than somebody who does not, and you do too. So drinking fruit juice as opposed to like real fruit juice, as opposed to drinking in Arizona, or drinking your proper amount of water per day is definitely one of them. And then eating fruits and vegetables and not having all that processed stuff. And also some vegetables make your urine stink. And so you want to, if you're in, depending upon the type of relationship you're in, you want to monitor that in relation to when you are with that person, because it will just give a natural spell. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, but it will change and affect your smell and your taste. And so a little tricky trick that you can use is the whole day before, like if y'all have to set up your dick appointments or your pussy appointments, none of my business. If you got to set them up the whole day before, eat them fruit and vegetables, baby. Drink water. Okay. Don't be out there with the Henny and the hot wings. Okay. And leave the spicy food out of it too. Vegetables, a whole bunch of fruit, and the bright fruits, the bright ones like pineapples, mangoes, lemon, all the good ones, oranges, all the bright, shiny ones. Go ahead, Omi Jamila. I don't even know I wasn't mess up your name.
Just another helpful tip, ladies. Berries for men. If you want their endurance, if you want them to last longer, if you're working with a man that just can't quite, carry it past 5 minutes. Berries help with endurance. All kinds of berries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries. Berries help men with endurance. So another tip.
And I will add carrots to that. Carrots. I'm gonna just say carrots. Carrots. Long and strong, like a raw carrot. Carrots. Carrots. We have a day called Carrot Day. That day shall never be forgotten in my house. Carrots. Carrots. All right, so biblical examples of fasting. Because this class isn't just for us. This is like, fasting is for everybody. You don't have to be in a certain religion. You don't have to be really of any religion, but people like to akin things to Christianity. So the first one is obviously Jesus' 40-day and night fast, and that is in Matthew 4:1-2. The second is Nehemiah's fast after the walls fell in Jericho, and that is in Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4, is the best version of that. And then the king of Nineveh is in
Nineveh.
Jonah. Go ahead, what'd you say?
Nineveh.
Nineveh, thank you. Thank you. That's one of them words I didn't hear too much in church.
Oh, right. I remembered it. I had to remember it because I was like, what the hell is that? What's a Nineveh?
Nineveh. I don't want none of my Bible people being upset. It's Nineveh. And that's in Jonah 3, verses 7-10. And then Anna, who was a prophetess who never left the temple. And her story is, the best part of that is Luke chapter 2, verse 36. And when I say she never left the temple, I actually read all these before I went, and I like picked out the best part. And she lived for a very long time for that time, because people didn't live as long back then. She lived a very long time. She, I believe, was widowed at some point, and so she just stayed in the temple after that. And it wasn't even penance. It was her gratefulness to God was to pray and fast. That's how she showed her love for God. So in her case, it wasn't because she was sad. It wasn't because she was a bad person and was trying to make up for it. She just loved God so much that was her sacrifice, and that's how she wanted to show him her respect and her love. Did you want to add anything, love?
Kind of just want to back up to the benefits of fasting. I just made some notes on this for you all. And again, if you want me to be more detailed, I'll be happy to put some stuff into the Coven chat. But when Omowari was talking about benefits of fasting and we talk about detox from chemicals, I just always want to throw out things that help with that. So on the herbal side, if you can get your hands on burdock root, soursop, and Siseri, I always say it wrong, Siseri. It's a Jamaican herb. If you're from the islands, you know what that is. So those all help with toxins. They get rid of toxins. they're bitter, they don't taste good, but they absolutely get rid of toxins. And then when she was talking about the mental reduce and brain fog and that clarity, that lift that happens at the end of fasting, if you want help with that, if you want to see those benefits a little sooner while you're fasting, try ashwagandha and rosemary. Rosemary is a great herb for the brain. And then she was talking about kind of the spiritual part of us being in tune once we experience that clarity and that brain lift. And I just wanted to reiterate that a lot of that goes back to the gut, right? Being the second brain. So once you clean out the gut and once you eliminate all of the toxins through the gut, you are really going to be able to connect to spirit, especially those lower 3 chakras. And you will feel light, you will feel connected to source, you will feel and see and hear things that you weren't hearing before. So again, fasting, while it seems like, again, it's all of the sacrifice to the flesh and it's hard and it sucks and all of those things, but overall, you will be better spiritually for it. You'll be more sound with clairvoyance, claircognizance, all of those things. If you're a healer, if you're a reader, if you're an empath. So yeah. What's the LOL? What did I miss? I missed something. Was this about the sex comment? Okay, that's all I was going to say on that.
I think we're going to have a sexual wellness class anyway. That might be one of the classes we talking about later. Cause yeah, there's that. Okay, so fasting with purpose. So before you consider your fast, you need to consider why you're even doing this, because we sometimes we like to just follow trends, and that's not necessary. Like how people just all of a sudden, oh, I gotta get gluten-free. Bitch, you do not have celiac disease. Please shut the fuck up. Please go ahead and eat your wheat. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Don't stop it. Sorry, that one really grinds my gears. Like every time I'm like, oh, you have celiac disease? No. Then why are you eating gluten-free? Nothing's wrong with wheat. Wheat itself is not bad for you. You're fine. You're fine, baby. Just don't inhale a whole loaf of bread a day and you're fine. Okay? Stop it. So what is the goal of this fast? Is it spiritual enlightenment? Is it to lose weight? Is it, because you know that you have been wasting time with some of the bad habits that you have and you want to do better. And so you're going to fast from social media, things like that. So what is the goal of this fast? And then how will this fast help you reach your goal? So that's more kind of like, especially like with social media, if you want to spend more time with your children, if you want to make sure that you are getting things done in your business because you have some deadlines at work or in your business or whatever. And so you need to cut down your distractions and you need to reduce your brain fog and all that stuff. What are the actual goals and how will this fast help you reach those things? Because you want to make sure that during your fast, you are including things that will actually help you in this fast. You don't want to just not have anything red. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat anything white. But why? But why? So make sure you know why. And then have you consulted with your ancestors about the type of fasting you should do? We don't think about this when we go fasting either. Our ancestors be like, no, girl, eat that chicken. Like, no. So you should really consult with your ancestors to make sure that this fast is even going to help what you assume it is you need. You may not need a fast for that purpose. You may not need a fast for that goal, not a dietary one. Anyway, you might need to fast some other type of way. So always divine and consult with your ancestors before you pick a type of fast. And depending upon your health situation, talk to your doctor. If you have certain health conditions, definitely check with your provider to make sure that what you're doing isn't going to negatively impact that, because Google and WebMD is a lie. Do not be trusting Dr. Google to tell you what's wrong with you and how you can fix it all the time. There are some people that are very reputable and know what they're talking about, but please, oh please, I'm on my knees. Stop going to the internet for everything, because it just doesn't work. And then define clear and concise rules for your fast, including the duration. So you don't ever want to be on a fast infinitely, because that's not going to do you any good either. You need to have a goal or a time limit, because you have a time goal, you have a deadline for something. So, and then as far as the rules, you want to make sure you know exactly what you can and cannot have. So the best things to do are to write a list of the things you can have. Instead of talking about all the things you can't have, write down all the things you can have. Like, I can have this, I can have this, and I can have these 50 other things. Write you a good long list of the things you can have, so that you can have diversity and you can have choices, instead of saying, I can't have pork and I can't have red meat. So now all you're thinking about is pork and red meat, because you told yourself you can't have it. But if you tell yourself, I can have this, I can have this, I can have this, I can have this, it changes in your brain the mentality that you have about the fast, and you're not focusing on the negative, you're focusing on the positive. Do you have anything to add to that, my love?
Yes, just really quickly. Just going back to one of the points when you talk about helping with reaching your goal and what those goals are, just to kind of reiterate, write that down. What is your goal? Is your goal more focused? Is your goal, some people, you can fast to bring money and abundance. You can fast for love, right? Getting into the craft of what we do. And there's certain fasts that help with those things. And that really goes back to divining, like Omowari said, not just divining to see if this is accepted, but also to see, what is it that your ancestors think, or that your spiritual team think that you need to fast from in order to draw what it is that you're looking for, right? And so I believe it's Priestess, is it Omisika who does the financial courses? Yes. And so, one of the things that she and I talked about after, not the last class, but the one before that, is, how are you going to get to this $20,000 goal that you have in order for you to be able to walk away from your job, right? Which, by the way, is my goal, in case you guys didn't know. And so what can I give up? So I am fasting right now from getting my nails done. I know my nails are done, but I did not pay for this. Just putting that out there. But I'm not spending money on getting my nails done. I'm not spending money on going out to eat. I'm not spending money on Starbucks. And it adds up really quickly. I keep a diary. I write down anytime I want to order something that I would order for me, my children, I write down, like, we'd usually go to Chipotle and get this, and it would usually come out to this amount. And I make a mental note that today I saved $54, right? And so there's certain fasting that can help with certain things. And then also, when you talk about clear and concise rules for fasting, the duration and all of that, I want everyone to understand that fasting is really a reset. Our bodies are really just computers. So when you stop doing something, you give the body a chance, because what happens is when you're sleeping, your body is healing itself. Your body is repairing itself. But if you are overloaded with information, food is information. Anything you put into your body processes as information. So this is why they tell you not to eat so close to bedtime, right? This is one of those reasons. So if you're fasting, your body has an opportunity to do what it's supposed to do, and it can heal certain things while you're sleeping, instead of focusing on processing garbage that you put in your stomach 10 minutes before you lay down, right? So there's all of these great benefits to being, clear and concise about the duration, why you're doing it, making sure that you're writing down, when are you going to have your last meal of the day? When are you going to have your first meal of the day? All of those things are important, and you'll see changes that you didn't even expect to see on the physical side too. So that's really, really cool. That's it.
Thank you. And going back to the, when are you eating every day? Like, when are you starting, when are you stopping? When I was doing my my raw days, that's what I called them, my raw days. Because that's basically all I was eating. I had to have breakfast, because when you change your diet so drastically, which is what's usually happening in a fast, you have to make sure you're still getting what you're supposed to get. And so there's a difference between the calories that come from fruit and vegetables and the calories that come from a cheeseburger, even if they're the same. There's a difference between sugar that comes from vegetables and sugar that comes from cookies. Anybody who is diabetic or is close to somebody who is diabetic, my kid's father, my ex-husband, he is a type 1 diabetic. His body makes no insulin whatsoever. So every little bit of sugar counts in his body. He can't take a pill. He has to like actually inject insulin into his body multiple times per day. However, the way his body will react to an orange is completely different from the way his body will act to a cookie, even a small cookie. It can have the exact same amount of sugar in it, but the body processes refined sugar and even cane sugar differently than how it processes the natural carbohydrates that are in fruit and vegetables, and even really bread. Bread is a whole different situation. Bread, pasta, potatoes, any type of starch will turn to sugar in your body. And so knowing these things for your fast will also help you ahead of time when you're in your planning stages, especially if you're one that's using it for weight loss, or if you're diabetic and you're doing it for sugar management because you're tired of having to pump yourself full of insulin 72 times a day, when you could just be eating better in some cases, especially type 2 diabetes, where it's usually a diet problem, more of a diet, less of a genetic thing. That's just something to make sure that you are really thinking about, is what you are actually putting into your body. So yeah, we can have whole grains in our fast on Thursdays, but all of that turns to sugar. And so really, are you fasting? When you think about it, it feels good. It helps you get full when you're starving, but it still turns into sugar in your stomach as it processes through your body. So keep those things in mind also when fasting. Go ahead, Omi.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. When you're talking about the way that your body processes certain things, sugars, we look at sugar like it's this bad word, and it's not. It's just, again, to your point, understanding the types of sugar that your body processes and turns into fuel, that it turns into, what minerals is it getting? It's not even the vitamins. That's a hoax. It's really what minerals is your body getting. And so, again, just to re-interject the importance of maybe adding some herbs to your fast, because this is what you get from the herbs. This is, tea, all of those things. It's minerals, right? So if you know that you're going to be fasting, but your body typically needs X, Y, and Z to, give you a jolt of energy. Let's see, maybe we can use some hibiscus, and maybe we can use, some lemon balm to help calm the mind. And so you don't feel like you're on edge and hangry and all those things. And so it's just worth looking into, like she said earlier, not exactly what you can't have, but what you can have, and not just what you can have, but what can you have that's going to be able to replace the things you can't have and still give you the desired outcome, to make you still feel full, to make you still feel satisfied, and to make sure that your body is getting the nutrients it needs.
And also things that you like. Like, just because you're fasting on fruits and vegetables doesn't mean you have to suddenly start eating broccoli if you fucking hate broccoli. Like, you can pick other things. When people like to do those smoothie trends and stuff like that, like, oh, I gotta add kale, I fucking hate kale. Don't add kale. Find out what it is that kale does good for you and replace it with something else that you actually like. Like, you don't have to suffer when you do it. Again, find what you can have and things that you actually enjoy. I love strawberries and pineapples. I don't so much care for blueberries. So I'll have a couple of blueberries and my daughter usually finishes the rest. Unless I put them in a smoothie. Now I'm happy. And I can make me some, this is a trick. I'm going to give y'all a trick right now. I learned this from one of my vegan friends like many, many, many years ago. If you take an avocado, blueberries, and like an almond milk. And you can actually make like a smoothie out of that, or it's more like a milkshake because of the thickness, because that avocado adds thickness. And people are like, oh, avocado is so nasty. It's not. It doesn't really taste like anything, really.
It's cream. It gives it the creamy texture that you need.
Yeah. And so when you're trying to like do a mock milkshake, that is like the best thing to put in there. And when it's full of blueberries, you're not going to taste any of that avocado, I promise, because I've done it several times. That's like my go-to thing. I'm going to get, if you ever see me with avocados, I'm not making guacamole, honey. I am making me some smoothies, and they are delicious.
It might be the Mexican in me, but I ain't never met an avocado I didn't like, okay? Love me some avocado. I eat them raw. I'll pop the little seed out and I'll just take a spoon and just eat it. A little bit of salt, some tahini. Okay, I'm done. Avocado.
So yeah, just things to think about, y'all. So documenting your fasting. So food journals are great, especially if you're doing it for weight loss. You want to see what's working and what's not. This is like basically your book of shadows, but for food. It's your book of food. Your book of nutrients, whatever the hell you want to call it. Dream journal. So the reason why a dream journal is important while fasting is because of what we talked about, the spiritual cleansing, the spiritual alignment, the attuning with spirit, the clearing the mind fog, all of those things.
Have dreams when you're
fasting. Gonna have some dreams, baby. You're gonna have some dreams. So make sure you have your dream journal either next to your bed, or if you got a big ass bed and nobody's sleeping in it but you put that dream journal on the other side of your bed so that it's there. So as soon as you wake up, you can write in it. And try to wake up without your alarm. If you're having problems remembering dreams, it may be because you're not waking up naturally. That's the thing for me. If I'm not waking up naturally on my own, I'll forget my dream like almost instantly. So try to go to bed a little bit earlier so that you can, wake up at some point, sometimes before your alarm, and kind of do that. A book of shadows, which I already mentioned. If you're doing any type of workings, make sure that if you're fasting while you're doing these workings, make sure you document that in your book of shadows. Make sure that is part of the process, because that might be a key as to why it's working so well. In some cases, that those are in direct correlation. When you are vibrating higher and you are more attuned with spirit, and you are doing, we'll say, for lack of a better word, you're doing magic, that will make your magic stronger because you are where you are supposed to be physically. So make sure that you write those types of things in your book of shadows if you are fasting while doing workings. Ritual journals. Sometimes if you have like a whole ritual that involves fasting, make sure that you are documenting that type of stuff, because it's good for you for the future. You know what works, you know what doesn't. So like, I did this for a week and this happened and I did all these things. You can document that stuff, and it's good if you need to repeat it later on, or if you're become a priestess, it's good because then you can help your clients. You can tell them, well, this is what you need to do. You can only have this, this, and this as far as like fasting or whatever, and it will help. So make sure that you document that type of stuff. And then a diary. We don't really do diaries anymore sometimes as adults. Some of us journal, but very rarely do you hear about adults just doing like daily journals. But if you do that, I would say at least while you're doing a fast, I would write a journal of some sort that just describes, how you feel each day and when things get better. That way, next time you do a fast, okay, day 1 and 2 is going to suck. Day 3 will be better. By day 5, I'll be fine. And day 7 is going to be a breeze. And then once I'm done, days 1 through 4, it's going to take me a long time before I get back into my old habits of eating bacon and cupcakes. So, Omi Jamilua, do you have?
Just to piggyback off of that, you kind of joked toward the end, you're like, back into your old habit of eating bacon and cupcakes. So the thing is, when you know better, you do better. We're all conditioned, right? That's just how this world works. We're conditioned to eat the way that we are. We talk about pre-genetic dispositions, like, okay, if my mama has diabetes, does that mean I'll have diabetes? No, it just means that you have the same eating habits as your mom. You cook the exact same meals that she cooked. That's where you learn to cook, right? So changing that really, and I just said this in a video, but changing that also changes the trajectory of your descendants and how their health is going to be too, right? But what you'll notice, and she said jokingly, going back to eating cupcakes and bacon, it's delightful, right? Cupcakes and bacon is delightful and it tastes great. But it tastes that way and we don't know any better because when your spirit is weak and your flesh is stronger, because you lack that discipline, you serve your body and what feels good to the physical realm. What you're going to notice a lot of times is that when you're fasting, especially for a spiritual reason, when you try to go back and eat those cupcakes and bacon, you're not going to want it. Your body's going to react to it differently. I called myself trying to eat chicken some days ago. I've been vegan, y'all, since 2016. Every now and again, I'll try to eat a piece of meat. My body was like, what are we doing? We don't do this anymore. You know, we don't do this. Like I was sick the whole entire day, like because your body purges it and gets back into its natural rhythm. Like I said, the body's like a computer. Iya talks about this all the time about binary code, right? And how we kind of all operate on those ones and zeros, right? That kind of on and off switch. And so to reset the body into its natural state in the way that it's supposed to correspond with your spirit, fasting and cleansing and those kind of things are really good tools to be able to do that. And I am a huge, huge advocate. This last thing I'll say, I'm a huge, huge advocate for fasting with cleanses and or just at least with herbs. So if anyone ever has a question on like what herbs are good to use and what herbs are not good to use, and what herbs will help them, like I said earlier, you're hangry and your body misses the meat and you're upset all the time and you're going to snap off on your kids, but maybe some lemon balm and some ashwagandha will kind of calm that, right? Or you notice that you're eating a lot of vegetables and it's making you bloated. So maybe some, red raspberry leaf will help with that bloating. So there's, all kinds of information out there. And this was a great, thank you for letting me jump in on this. This was a much needed class, I think, because again, like I said to you, Omowari, faith and fasting go together. The spirituality, I mean, you can't have one without the other, in my personal opinion. So this was a great class.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns before we end this class? You can just unmute yourself. There's not a terrible amount of people in here. Ajay Aigbe, I will post the replay in the chat for you. And I think, I can't tell who that 323 number is. I think that's Nicole. If that's you, Nicole, the replay will be available momentarily. And in your email that you got with the link will change. That link will be the same, but it'll lead to that Google Doc, and the Google Doc link will change once I get the replay available for you. Same thing for you, Ms. Blessy. What are some good detoxes for beginners? I will let you answer Ms. Blessy's question.
Okay, a loaded question. That depends on why you're detoxing. That goes back to what Omowari was saying earlier. So what is your purpose? Are you detoxing for clarity, clairvoyance? Are you detoxing for weight loss? And I can give you a quick example. Weight loss. Okay, great. So a really good one for weight loss, and I'll put this in the coven too, but it's really simple. It's just lemon. Yeah, I think Beyonce made this popular some years back, but it's lemon, cayenne pepper, cinnamon, ginger, and honey. But the way you prepare it is important. You're going to squeeze the lemons, set probably four to six lemons. You're going to squeeze out the lemon juice. You're going to set the lemon juice aside. You're going to take about a gallon of water and boil it. And in the water, you're going to add the cinnamon stick and the ginger. You're also going to cut up the leftover lemon peel from the juice that you squeezed in. You're going to use those rinds and you're going to boil that too, because there's some really great antioxidants and things that help with weight loss. You're going to boil that with the cinnamon stick, the ginger, and the water. And then after that, you'll go ahead and strain out the cinnamon stick and the leftover lemon peel after you've let it sit for about 20 minutes. And then You can add the lemon juice in at that point with about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, maybe 2 teaspoons, because that really helps to cut the fat. And then also a desired amount of honey or agave just to sweeten it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anything. It just makes it palatable. So that's a really good one. And you want to drink about 4 glasses of that a day for about a week. So that's a good one.
Thank you. And also, when you are, something that you guys don't think about, but I'm going to add that because this is Arisa Hoodoo, right? Enchant your things. When you're making things from scratch, enchant your lemon for what you want it to do. If you don't have the Encyclopedia of Herbs, it's a PDF inside the Facebook group, and it's a PDF inside the Melanated Witchcraft group as well. And if you need it, as some of you, I know some of you were in the outreach program, I can give it to you if you need it, because that tells a lot of the magical purposes of herbs. And so cayenne has a magical purpose. Lemon has a magical purpose. Obviously, ginger and cinnamon have a magical purpose. Cinnamon, always, 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 I always add protection and quickening. It doesn't matter what I'm using for cinnamon, quickening and protection. Every trip, always have something for protection. So when you are making a tea, if you're making a tea for yourself, even if you're not making a tea for yourself, even if somebody, you bought it offline, if it ain't a magical person, just enchant the tea before you drink it. Pray over it while it seeps. That type of thing. We are magical people. We know how to use herbs to do what we need them to do. So enchant your herbs and your food to do what you need it to do. Just like how we put love into cooking, it's the same thing. Put your love and your magic into your fast, and I promise you it will go much better. It will go much, much better for you. Have much better results, especially when it's for something like weight loss or like spiritual clarity. Definitely enchant the hell out of that stuff. Enchant it. Stop playing. Stop playing. Do you have anything else to say on me? Okay, so that's all I have today. Did anybody else have a question before we end? You're welcome, Miss Blessy.
Will you all find it helpful for me to put a couple of detoxes in the Coven chat and some like herbs that might be helpful?
Yeah, and put it in the WhatsApp too, because Blessy and Nicole are not in the Coven.
Okay, all right, I can do that.
But they are in that WhatsApp chat. I made sure they were both in there. So if you could put that in the WhatsApp chat, and then you can also put it in the Coven. That way everybody gets it, because I don't want them to be left out. That would be fantastic. We'll make sure that nobody's jumped in there since we started. But as long as there's like no new weird people in there, then you can go ahead and drop it.
No new friends.
No new friends. And then we might do another class as well. We'll do a class. Somebody said, somebody asked me, they text me and asked me if we can do a detox and cleanse class. So you and I will work on that, and we'll actually get you a class. We should probably wait till after Thanksgiving. Because ain't nobody gonna do no detox right before Thanksgiving.
Listen, okay? Thing on the menu. But if anybody is too interested in and this is just what I do, because I'm vegan. I've done it for some years now, and the trial and error is real. But every year I do a vegan Thanksgiving at our house, and we invite all of our vegan family because we know what it's like to go to our family's house and not be able to eat shit. So if anyone's interested in like, or just has questions in like, what do I use to replace egg if I'm trying to bake a cake? Or what do I use if I'm trying to replace this and have the same outcome? I make a vegan macaroni and cheese that's bomb. I know you would never even know. You would be like, oh, I thought you were vegan. I am. Them are cashews, baby. I boil them cashews up and I grind them up, and that's how we get our consistency, that nuttiness, and that kind of creamy flavor from the cheese. But anyway, if you guys ever have questions, I'm so humbly and gratefully willing to help. Or if you want to come here for Thanksgiving because you don't want to eat meat. Just saying. Shameless plug.
Stop. Don't invite me to a good time. I love to eat. I do not care. Oh, it's vegan? That's great. What are we eating? I don't care. Oh, it's healthy? Wonderful. I'm still gonna eat it. Some people are weird and like they get this thing where like, oh, it's healthy. Oh, it's vegan. Like, yeah, and bitch, it's food. I'm finna eat.
Good.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
Listen, you can take some liquid smoke and use that in your greens and you won't even miss the bacon, okay? I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're not finna play with me right now.
Back here with some liquid smoke.
Mesquite.
Yes! That's the one. Yes.
A couple years ago for my mom's birthday, I got her a variety pack online from the company. You can actually go to their website.
Liquid.
And, they got all types of different ones. Usually mesquite, and there's one other one that they sell in the store typically, but there's literally like 6 different versions of this. And I bought my mom a little pack she was happy.
Shaw are not addicted to meat. You are addicted to texture and flavor. That's it. If you can replace those 2 things, we're good.
Because I usually don't put meat in my spaghetti, and my son just found that out last week. And I put a little bit of, I put Worcestershire sauce. Yes, that's not a secret ingredient. That's a secret ingredient because Worcestershire sauce will do some things to some flavor, okay? And I put a little bit of liquid smoke, and I also, because it's sitting right here, I put a little bit of Frank's in there as well. What'd you say?
I put that shit on everything. You ain't see the commercial?
Listen, I put it on everything. Now, I don't put enough in it to even make it spicy, but I put enough in it so it just adds, because to me, Frank's is not spicy. It just adds flavor. Do a vegan cooking class. Yo, listen, don't threaten us with a good time. We will.
Look, I know I'm late to the party. I don't know what all y'all talked about so far, but
it's okay.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
Yeah, okay, I shall. Look, I made some it was like nuggets. I made some chicken, but with jackfruit. Oh my God. Nobody ever told me that jackfruit could be so diverse. Like
pork sandwiches, pork sandwiches.
Yep. The barbecue too. I looked at it and I was like, it's no way. And them babies fried up like little nuggets, and they were seasoned to perfection. And they were so good. I was like, I had no idea. And the other thing was making a spaghetti with squash spaghetti instead of the noodles. Oh Lord have mercy. It was so good.
Tried that yet? I've heard some things, but Ia was like, it is not spaghetti. And I was like, I know. And she was like, don't let them think it's gonna taste exactly the same, because it's not.
Yeah. That expectation is something. So someone asked me if fried cauliflower is a good replacement for fried chicken wings. Like, does it taste like fried chicken? And I said, no, it tastes like fried cauliflower. Because that's the truth. It does not taste like fried chicken. I don't know who's out here telling these lies, but it tastes amazing.
I appreciate the honesty, but I would tear down some fried cauliflower. You hear me? You understand? Okay. Because you know how they got the pickles with the spicy pickles, and sometimes there's cauliflower in there. What we do is when all those pickles are gone and all that cauliflower is gone, we put fresh cauliflower in there and just let it soak it up. Don't put nothing but cauliflower and some carrots sometimes. Carrots are okay too. Just put the cauliflower and carrots in there and just let it sit in there for like a week. Just let that baby marinate.
Are you sure you're a Midwest person? Because I feel like you're from.
So I was born in Ohio, but I lived in a few other states as a youth. And for my father's family is definitely from Georgia. When I did my my ancestry, when I did not my ancestry test, because I used a different one for that, but when I did my tree on ancestry, I got back down to Georgia. So yeah, I just love food. I really don't care. Listen, when it comes to food, I'll eat anybody's food. What country we eating from today? I could be Mediterranean. I could be Arab because ooh baby, I had some Iraqi residents, and one of them, she used to do some things to some things, and I loved it because she would just bring me a plate. She's like, "You hungry? I bring you food." And I said, "I love you." And she would just bring me a plate on a beautiful tray of things I never had before, but I tried it and it was good. So, and Omo Jole said she just had falafel not too long ago. I had that. They brought her father-in-law made me some falafel. He made it from scratch. He made me some falafel. I was like, oh, I didn't know I like this, but I like it.
But I like
But some couscous, had never had that before. He made it. I like it.
couscous. I just had some the other night. It was good.
Yeah. African, anything, pretty much anything that's African, I'm finna fuck that up. Let's just be clear. Let's just be real clear. Jollof rice, as long as it's not dry, because people are stupid and make dry rice, but jollof rice, oh, I'm gonna tear that down. Definitely. Oh, Asian food, it's going in my face hole. Hispanic food, going in my face hole. Like,
Face hole.
listen, I've never had escargot, and I've never had what is caviar. I've never had those. I'd try it if somebody else paid for it, because I'm not gonna pay for it with my money. However, I would eat it. I would try it, just like a little one of them.
You could try, like, I don't know. I don't think I really like eating OB either, but at least my piece wasn't as big as Ogun Leroux.
Oh yeah,
Girl, it was
OB
horrible. Girl, I would
is
never do
disgusting.
that again. I would never pick the biggest OB out the whole pack ever again.
She strategically picked the biggest one. Like, I need all of my blessings. I was like, okay, you about to get a lot of blessings.
She didn't know she had to eat it. If it turned up, she didn't know. She didn't know she was gonna have to eat it. It's okay. It's all right, baby. You know, for next time.
Exactly. That's all that matters. Next time, I'm gonna be smart about it.
It was a learning experience for you. All right, y'all. I gotta go do some stuff.
Oh, you about to go? Because I had a question.
I've got things to do. I'm cute for y'all, but not just cute for y'all. I got things.
I'll write it in the chat. I know that's right. I'll write it in the chat.
What is it? What's the question? She had a question.
I was just going to look forward to some advice about me and calories, because with all of this fasting and vegetarian meals, my thing is I got to consume a lot of calories, and I'm not a person that can eat a big helping of food at one time. So that don't help me to just pack a lot of different things in there for calories. Like, I'm trying to figure out.
You're trying to figure out calories you can consume, foods you can consume that have a lot of calories.
High calorie. Yeah.
So I can
fasting.
So I can put in, I was gonna put some stuff in the coven. I was gonna put a couple of detoxes and then certain herbs and stuff in the coven. So I'll also leave like a little list of foods that you don't need to eat a lot of in order to get a lot of the calorie intake and stuff like that too. There's certain fruits or certain vegetables. Really, a lot of it's going to come down to your grains, your beans, which are high in fiber, but still have a lot of calories. Lentils are really good. Any kind of really wild rice. Wild rice is really what you want anyway. But wild rice is really big with lots and lots of calories. And it makes you full really quick too, because it expands inside. So, but yeah, I'll make a little list for sure. For you, Liv.
Thank you.
That's one thing I know how to do is gain weight. That part's easy.
I'm done with you for the day. All right, y'all. Well, as always, thank you for joining me. This has been a very amazing educational class. Thank you so much, Omi Jamilua, for your expertise and your knowledge and your wisdom and your greatness and your beauty. And I love you guys so much. I love all of you. Thank you for asking wonderful questions. Thank you for participating. Thank you for joking around and tolerating my nonsense, because y'all know how I do. But anyway, I love you so much. Thank you. And keep your head so high you can't even see the haters. Peace.
If nobody talks about you,